when did you realize, like, you know what, I can really excel here at Boston College? Was there a moment in camp? Was there a game? What was it?
We had 9 quarterbacks in camp. I was probably number 8, only because number 9 was hurt. All right. I worked up to about number 4, but I traveled because I was a punt returner. And I was the backup punt returner. And Brian Brennan, our starter, had a pulled hamstring. So I traveled to Penn State. I was the 4th quarterback. They only take 3 as a punt returner. And what happened was at Penn State, starting quarterback with John Lockery. John is Matt Ryan's uncle. So John had been the starter, played poorly that day. He had a bad thumb. The other 2 quarterbacks had already had opportunities to play because he was injured. And John had a rough day that day. And the coaches came to me at halftime and said, "You're next up. Be ready." And I didn't believe them. I'm like, "Yeah, right." I'd never called a play in an offensive huddle. I never ran team. I was always on scout team. I never ran team drills. So finally, 4th quarter rolled around and said, "Doug, you're up." They told me to warm up. I still didn't believe they were putting me in the game. And then we get the ball back and they're going to put me in the game. And I'm walking out on the field at Penn State thinking, I can tell my grandkids I played in front of 85,000 people at Penn State, because this is going to be it. I'm going to go out. I'm going to be terrible. It's going to be done. And I'll never see the field again. I completed my first 5 passes and we were in the end zone. And it kind of hit me, you know what? It's the same game I've always played. This is going to work. And the following week I became the starter. But Penn State was the number 2 in the country at the time. They hadn't been scored on all year. They had the number 1 defense in the country. They had their starters still in the game. And, this guy was open. I threw him the ball. That guy was open. And I didn't know. I was asking guys in the huddle the route because I didn't know. I was memorizing, no lie. The first play was I right, sprint right, 49, and there's a comeback on the outside. I'm like, okay, I know he's running the comeback. I'm throwing him the ball. I sprinted out. He was open. I threw him. Called same play the other way. Good. I know this one now. I already ran it. He's open. Threw him the ball. There were a couple plays called that I just memorized the call, and I had to ask guys what they were running because I didn't know the offense.
That is awesome. I got to ask you. So Tom Coughlin was your quarterback coach, right?
Yes.
So was it you wanting to play well, or having been around Coughlin, he's a tad intimidating, or you being afraid of coming to the sidelines and seeing Tom Coughlin?
Oh, that moment happened a lot. I had Tom as my offensive coordinator, and it was great because I had Tom as a coordinator who was hard-nosed, disciplined, and had Jack Bicknell, the head coach, who'd wrap his arm around you. And on game day, Tom was upstairs. So I got to deal with Jack during game day. It was like being on vacation. It was awesome. So what happened was when they were sending me on the field, and I've talked to both Jack and Tom Coughlin about this, Tom is lighting Jack up. What the hell are you doing putting him in the game? What are you doing? He doesn't even know the calls. Jack's like, we got to find out. So it was really cool. I think I learned my most football from Tom Coughlin of anyone I've ever been around. And then on game day, I got to deal with Jack. And, it was like I said, practices were tough and game day was fun.
That's Doug Flutie, the 1984 winner from Boston College. And Doug, one thing that's interesting is people nowadays, everybody says it's a quarterback award because of the stats of these quarterbacks is just off the charts. All these guys this season, it seems like every year they're setting records. But a running back won an award from 72 to 83 the year before you won. And back then it was a running backs award. What do you think of? Obviously we have some quarterbacks, we got a wide receiver. What do you think of these finalists this season?
I think it's an amazing group. I think they're all ridiculously talented, and I just marvel year after year at the athleticism, the efficiency of the quarterbacks now. Completion percentages for us, if we were over 50%, we were pretty happy. And I threw a mess of interceptions. These guys don't throw interceptions. You want to go back a little bit to the 70s and 80s, that's the style of offenses they ran. And then all of a sudden the passing game started to develop, and that's why it changed. And now it's, throwing the ball 40 times a game is no big deal. And these guys know what they're doing with the ball and high percentage and all that. So all the finalists, you can't go wrong with any of them that would potentially win it. Devontae Smith, I marvel at some of his play this year. And I didn't really find out about him till later in the season.
Yeah.
But, it shows. I think about this as a quarterback. I had a guy, Eric Moulds, when I was in Buffalo that I leaned on. I had a guy, guys in Canada that were go-to guys. And all I had to do was distribute the ball and get it in their hands. So, the playmakers you have on your team can make you. And that's why it's prestige. It's that quarterback award and all that now. But there's no other sport like football where you need all 11 guys on the same page for anyone to have success.
Hey, Doug, so you mentioned like the finalists, but also not in the finalists is Justin Fields and other quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. On the next level, how do you see them making that transition to the next level of playing professionally if they declare and decide to go?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is a no-brainer. I remember back to his freshman year, and I was at the national championship game and just seeing some of his reads there. I mean, he saw things that I'm sitting up above looking down. And I'm like, how the heck did he get to the backside route on that one? He knows the passing game. I think all three of them, Mac Jones, again, Mac is a very efficient, solid thrower, reader of coverage, manager of the game as well. He's got all it down. Justin Fields, now the last couple of weeks of the regular season, I started to question him a little bit because it looked to me like he's holding the ball. He's waiting for guys to get open and then throwing to him. He seemed a little indecisive at times. And then you throw on the semifinal, and I'm like, holy mackerel. Well, every time it looked like Clemson was going to get back in that game, he turned one loose 65 yards on time, in stride, perfect post routes, and rose to the challenge. That's the best I've ever seen him play. I mean, I've seen him play great, but that was exceptional. That was amazing. I think all three translate very well to the NFL. The one guy I had a question mark about was Justin, only because there were some times where I thought he didn't have that anticipation on throws, but I saw the other day his anticipation was excellent.